Alright, for this notes, we're going to learn how to divide when you have a 4-digit number divided by a 2-digit number. And I'm going to show you how to do it in two different ways. The very first way we're going to talk about is this standard algorithm, like the example that you see here. But before we even get started on that, let's talk about vocabulary. Whenever you have a number that is being divided and is being written like this with this symbol right here, that, with the little line and the dot on the top and the dot on the bottom, that's your division sign that you probably can find in a calculator, right? But sometimes the math problems are like that, and then you have to set them up like this. So you kind of have to know which number goes where. So that's what we're going to discuss first. Okay. So the very first number that you see is called the dividend whenever it's written like this. Okay, and that's important to know because step one tells us that dividend has to be or is the first number, and that number goes inside the division symbol. So we have to know where to put the first number. Some people make a mistake and they put the wrong number on the inside, and then they get the wrong answer. They do everything backwards. So obviously the answer is going to be wrong. Okay, so now that we know that, we need to know the second number. The second number is called the divisor. So go ahead and write this down on your paper. Everything that I write down in my notes, you should have in your notes as well. Okay? All right, so now that we know what the divisor is, that's going to be important also because the second part of this step is to write the divisor, which is the second number, on the outside part of the division symbol. So there it is. And then that's it, right? But before we do that, we have one more thing to label. The next vocabulary word that we need to take care of is the word quotient. Quotient is the answer to a division. So whenever we rewrite the division, we will find the answer on the very top. So that's the quotient. Okay? Now, let's make sure that we understand where the dividend and where the divisor went. Because right now on my screen, you can see that it's color-coded. But just in case you're not using highlighters with different colors to write this down, let's go ahead and label it right here on this form of division. The number on the inside is called the dividend, and the number on the outside is called the divisor whenever it's written down with that division bracket like that. Okay? All right. I think now we are ready for step two. Step two says to divide. Well, to divide, you have to ask yourself a question. You have to look at the divisor on the outside, which is 24, and ask yourself, how many times does 24 go into 73? And we're using 73 because we know 24 cannot go into 7. So we have to go to the next number, which is 73. Okay, and the problem tells you that it's 3 because 24 times 3 is 72. But what if you didn't know that? What if you had to try 24 times 7 and that was too much? And then you have to try 24 times 5 and that was too much. And then you have to try 24 times 2 and that was too little. So you have to now go back and do 24 times 4 and that's still too much. And that's a lot of work you have to do for just finding out how many times 24 can go into 73. That's why a lot of students get frustrated with division or they don't like division because it's a lot of work. So I'm going to show you a trick. I'm going to show you a strategy that I use that will help you not feel frustration. Okay? Hopefully I can simplify things for you so I can help you out. So here's the trick. And you're going to say, Mr. Burgueño, that's not a trick. This is like what I used to do in, I don't know, second or third grade. Well, maybe, but this is where everything comes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to write down our multiplication table for the divisor. The divisor is 24, so we're going to write 24 times 1, 24 times 2, and so on. And you can see that I'm doing this, and I'm going a little fast because I'm using this technology thing, but you can go ahead and pause the video, write them down, and I can work them out for you. I'll show you how to work them out. Just go ahead and set it up like this, okay? And I don't have space for the 9, but I'll do it in a few minutes. So hopefully now you have it all written down. If not, go ahead and pause and then come back to it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this quickly. 24 times 1, we know that one. That's super easy, just 24. All right, the next one, all we have to do is double the numbers. So 2 doubled is 4, right? And 4 doubled, that would give me 8. So that's it. 24 times 1 is 24, and 24 times 2 is 48. That's the only multiplications you have to do. Everything else just becomes simple addition. a one-digit number adding another one-digit number. So it's going to be super easy. So here's my instruction for that. Pay attention. If we add 1 plus 2, do you agree that we'll get 3? Hopefully you do, because that's true. So now, by using that way of thinking, then it should make sense that if we add this 24, which was 24 times 1, plus the 48, which was 24 times 2, we should get the answer here for 24 times 3. So if we just add them together, we should get the answer. Let's see. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 4 plus 8, and that's going to give me 12. Now here's the trick. Here's another trick actually within the trick. If you put a 1 right here on the top when you're adding, and you have to regroup, you see how I just did that 1 right there? Well, you can add 1 plus 2, and that gives you 3, and 3 plus 4 gives you 7. Okay, but you have to be careful, because if you're not careful, this 1 that you just wrote down up here can mess you up. Let me show you what I mean. So we did 1 times 2, and times 3. Now if we're going to do times 4, I want to add the 4 and the 2 to give me the answer on the bottom. So I'm going to add 4 plus 2, that's going to give me 6. And if I add 2 plus 7 plus 1, that gives me 10. But the correct answer here should be 9. So if I put a 10 right here by mistake, because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I just added this 1 right here on the top that was from the previous problem, I just messed up the whole problem. All of these multiplications down here on the bottom are going to be wrong. So if you have to use any of these numbers in your multiplication, in your division in a few minutes, you're going to be using the wrong numbers. So we don't want to make that mistake, and I'm going to show you how we can take away that mistake. So instead of putting down the 1 on the top like that, we're just going to carry it in our hands. Okay, so let me go back to this space. We're going to add 4 plus 8, that gives me 12. So there's the 2. And the 1 that we carry, we're going to carry it in our hands. So go ahead and lift one finger in your hand, whichever hand you want. Just lift one finger, and that finger is going to be symbolizing the 1 that we carried. So we're going to carry it, but we're going to hold it in our hand. So now we're going to add the 2 plus the 4 from the second column, and that's going to give me 6. And now, because we have the 1 finger lifted, that means we have to carry one more. We have to add one more. So 6 plus 1 gives you 7. And let's make sure that we don't write that 1 on top. So there's a 7. Now that we don't have anything written down on top, we should be able to get the right answer for the next number. So now we can add 4 plus 2, and that gives me 6. And 2 plus 7 gives me 9. You see there's no 1 up there, so we don't even have to worry about trying to make a mistake or not. And this works because 1 plus 3 is 4. So the number 24 plus 72 should give you the 96, and that's what we just did. Okay? We're going to follow this a little bit more. And I know it seems a little tedious. It seems like repetitive. We're doing that over and over. And you might be thinking, I don't need to do all that. But I promise you, if you do this, if you get used to doing this, you're going to go a lot faster than somebody who's not doing this. You're going to learn your multiplication tables a lot faster. And I don't want you to learn the multiplication table of 24. You don't need it. I mean, I don't know my 24s, and, I'm a math teacher. So it's okay if you don't know, but if you know how to figure it out like this, then you have the tool that you need to be successful. So now that I've said that, let's go ahead and multiply 24 times 5 by adding the 1 and the 4, because that gives you 5. So that means that you're going to add the 24 plus the 96. And we're going to do one number at a time. 4 plus 6, or 6 plus 4, that gives you 10. So there's the 0. And remember, we're going to carry a 1, but not on the paper. We're going to carry it in your hand. So you have a 1 with your finger raised, right, on one of the hands. Good. So now we're going to add 1 plus 9, that's 10. And 10 plus 2 gives me 12. Okay? Or you can say 9 plus 2 is 11, and then the 1 in your hand that gives you 12. Either way you want to do it is fine, but as long as you get 120. Okay, so now we're going to go a little faster because I think now you get the gist. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to go ahead and add The 1 plus the 5, that's going to give us 6. So I'm going to add the 24 plus the 120, one digit at a time. So I'm going to do 0 plus 4. That's easy, that's 4. Okay, now I'm going to add the 2 plus the 2. Well, that's 4. That's easy. Bring down the 1. That's 144. Done. The next number, 1 plus 6 is going to give me the answer for 7, the 24 times 7. So that means I'm going to add the 24 again. I'm going to rewrite it again because I think I lost it, plus the 144. So 4 plus 4, that gives you 8. And 2 plus 4, that gives you 6. And then bring down the 1, so it's 168. Okay, so I'm going to write the 1 up there again. Alright, so now the last one I'm going to do is 1 plus 7. That should give you the 8. So that means that 4 plus 8 is 12. There's the 2. Carry the 1 in your finger. And then you're going to add 2 plus 6, that's 8. Plus the 1 in your finger gives you 9. And then you have a 1 that you have to bring down. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the 24 times 9 just to see that it still works. So now we're going to add 1 plus 8. That's going to give us the 9, right? So we're going to add the digit 4 plus 2. That's 6. And then we're going to add 2 plus 9. That's 11. Carry 1 in your finger. And there's a 1 from the 192 plus the 1 in your finger. That's going to give you 2. So my answer is 216. If you now look, you have all the multiples of 24 from 1 to 9. So now we're going to use that. And that's going to cut down all of this different work. Look, somebody who didn't do what we just did, they could multiply 24 times 5, trying to figure out how many times 24 goes into 73. So if you multiply 24 times 5, you're going to say 5 times 4 is 20. So 0 carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. Oh, that's too much. It's 120. We only need 73. So don't write this down, what I'm doing right now. Just listen to what I'm telling you. This is all the work and the frustration you're going to save by doing the shortcut that I just went over. So 120 is too much. Okay, so let's do, I don't know, 24 times 2. So if we do 24 times 2, it's going to give you 48. Well, that's too little. That's not enough because we need 73, and 48 is kind of far away from 73. So now let's try 24 times 4. 24 times 4 is going to give me 96. That is still too much. So you can see how frustrating it can be. I just tried 3 different multiplications and nothing worked for 73. So that is the wrong way of doing it because you're going to get frustrated. You might even get to crying. You like my little face? Alright, so we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it my way because I'm promising you that this is going to be a lot faster once you get used to it. It's going to be a little bit of a slow process getting there, but you're going to be doing a lot better off in the long run. Alright, so now we have 24 and we want to go into 73. So we're going to look in our list and we can see that 72 is really close to 73 without going over. So we're going to use that one. And that means we're going to use the factor of 3. So we're going to put the 3 in the quotient on top of 73. And we're going to multiply 24 times 3 is 72. So we're going to write down the 72. And now step 4 is to subtract. So 73 minus 72 gives me 1. Then number 5, step 5, is to bring down the next digit, which is a 4. So we're going to bring down the 4, and that 4 joins with the 1 that we have remaining. So that means we have 14 now. So now we're going to say 14 or 24. Well, actually, we have to repeat it, and we have to start over again the process until we get a remainder of 0 or we find a remainder. So now we're going to say 24 goes into the 14 how many times? Well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say 24 times 0 is 0 because 24 can't go into 14. So we're going to have to use that 0 digit. So that 0 is going to go in the quotient, and I'm going to multiply 24 times 0. We know that's 0. So 14 minus 0 is 14. We bring down the next digit, which is a 4, and that makes it 144. So now 144, how many times will 24 go into 144? If you didn't have all the multiples listed, it's going to be hard to figure that out. But because we do have it, we can see this one right here. 24 times 6 is exactly 144. So I'm going to use the 6, the factor of 6, and I'm going to put it in my quotient. That's my last digit up there, because when I subtract 24 times 6, which is 144, from the 144 that I already had, my answer is 0, which means I'm done with my division, and my quotient is 306. Okay, I know that was a little long, but here's the next part. I'm going to show you how quickly it goes in these two problems from the practice problems that you have to do. So first I'm going to rewrite my dividend on the inside of my division bracket. Next, my divisor goes outside. Fine, easy. Now I'm going to do my multiples of my divisor, which is 23. So 23 times 1, 23 times 2, I'm going to write it all like that. Okay, and now I'm going to just multiply. 23 times 1 is 23. 23 times 2 is just double each number. So double 3 is 6, double 2 is 4. Now I'm going to do is add. You ready? It's going to take us like a minute to do this, but 1 minute is nothing. So here we go. 6 plus 3 is 9. 2 plus 4 is 6. You see how easy that is? We don't have to multiply. Keep going. 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. So there's the 2, and I'm going to carry a 1. And 2 plus 6 is 8, plus the 1 in my hand is going to give me 9. So now I'm going to do the same thing again, but now with the 92 on the bottom and the 23 on the top. So 2 and 3 give me 5. And then the 9 and the 2 give me 11. And I'm done. The next number, 5 plus 3, that's 8. And 1 plus 2 is 3. Bring down the 1. Now 8 plus 3 is 11. So there's the 1. Carry the 1 in your hand. 2 plus 3 is 5. Plus the 1 in your hand gives you 6. And then you bring down the 1. Then the next thing is you are going to add 3 plus 1. And that gives you 4. And then the 2 on the top plus the 6 on the bottom. 2 plus 6 is 8. And then you bring down the 1 in the hundreds place. And finally, 23 times 9 is going to give you 3 plus 4, that's 7. And 2 plus 8 is 10. So there's my 0. I'll carry the 1 in my finger. But now I have a 1 to bring down from the hundreds place. So 1 plus the 1 in my finger is going to give you 2. So now you have all your multiple facts. You can go ahead and start dividing. 23 cannot go into 6. So I'm going to write down 23 times 0 over here on my multiplication facts. And that's going to give me 0 because I'm going to need that number. That 0 goes in my quotient on top of the 6. 23 cannot go into 6, so it goes in there 0 times. 23 times 0 is 0. So when I subtract the 0 from the 6, I get a remainder of 6. And the next step is to bring down the 9. So now I have 69. And I know 23 goes into 69 exactly 3 times because I have all my multiplications listed. So see, now it's like a puzzle. You're just bringing the right piece into the division to help you out and to finish the puzzle. So I'm going to put the 3 in my quotient. And 3 times 23, I already know is 69. So I'm going to subtract it and I get a remainder of 0. Normally when you get a remainder of 0, you're done. But in this case, since we have another number to bring down, we're still not finished with the division. You have to bring down that 3. So 23 cannot go into 3. So we're going to have to use that division or that multiplication fact of 0 again. So the 0 goes in the quotient. 23 times 0 is 0. We'll subtract it from 3 and we'll get 3 again. So now we bring down the next digit and that's a 4. So we have 34. And 23 can go into 34 and it goes in there exactly only 1 time. So we put a 1 in there and 23 times 1 is 23. We'll subtract it and we get an 11. This is the end of your division because now you have found the 4th vocabulary word that we should go over, and that is the remainder. Whatever you have left over is called the remainder. And we're going to use just the first letter, which is the R, to write it on the top with our quotient. So I'm going to put an R for remainder, and then I'm going to put my 11 up there and box in my answer, and I'm done. Okay? So that's how you're going to do your division. We're going to do one more and a little bit fast so that you can finish this video and you can get a lot of practice with this next division. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is write the dividend on the inside. 2063 goes on the inside. That's my dividend. My divisor is 45, so that goes outside, which means I have to do my list of multiples of 45. So here's my list of multiples. I'm going to write them all down. Remember, you can pause the video to get more time. So now we have 45 times 1 and 45 times 2 is 90. We're done. Well, almost. All we have to do is now add one number at a time. 0 plus 5 is 5, and now 4 plus 9 is 13. And now we're going to add this 5 and this 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. 0, carry the 1 in your hand. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 in your hand gives you 8. And then you bring down the 1. Now we're going to add the 5 on the top and the 0 on the bottom. 5 plus 0 is 5. And then we're going to add 4 plus 8, which gives you 12. 2 and carry the 1. 1 plus 1 gives you 2. And I said 1 plus 1 because it's the 1 from the hundreds, the 180, plus the 1 in your finger. Now we're going to do 5 plus 5, and that gives you 10. So there's a 0. Carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Or 4 plus 2 is 6, plus the 1 in your hand. That's going to give you the 7. And now we're going to bring down the 2 because we didn't carry anything after the 7. So now we're going to keep doing that. But if you notice, there's a little pattern here. If you look at the first one, you have 45, 90, 135. The first digit is 5, then 0, then 5, then 0, then 5, then 0. So guess what? If the next number is going to be 5, you got it. And if you haven't figured out the next number here, there's also a pattern on the second column. It goes 4, skip, 3, skip, 2, skip. You see that? So the next one should be a 1. And then if you follow the pattern, you have nothing, nothing, 1, 1, 2, 2 for the third column. So guess what? Now we have a 3. And if we follow the pattern again, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0. And then if you look at the pattern, it goes 9, skip, 8, skip, 7, skip. So guess what? This is a 6. And then 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 should follow the pattern, and it works. Now you do again the pattern. So 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5. And now we're going to do 4, skip, 3, skip, 2, skip, 7, skip. 2, skip, 1, skip. So that means that the next one would be a 0. And then the next number would be a 4. And if you don't believe me on the pattern, you can go ahead and do what I was doing, just adding 2 numbers at a time. Either way, we have all the multiples right here. So all we have to do now is start dividing. 45 cannot go into 2. So 45 times 0 is going to have to help us in this case. Put a 0 on the quotient, subtract a 0, and you get 2. Bring down the next digit, which is a 0. So now you have 20. But guess what? 45 still cannot go into 20. So we're going to have another 0 in the quotient. And we're going to have to subtract another 0, which gives us 20. And we bring down the next digit, which is a 6. And 45 goes into 206. Exactly 180 is the one that we need. So we need to multiply by 4. Excuse me. So 45 times 4, now all I have to do is subtract 180 from the 206. And if you regroup correctly, you'll end up with 26. Bring down the 3, and now you have 263. So now we're going to use the 45 times 5 because that's close enough without going over. So I'm going to put the 5 in the quotient, and we're going to subtract 225 from 263, and that's going to be, regrouping correctly, 38. So now we're finished because we don't have any other number to bring down. We just found that special word that we talked about a few minutes ago, the remainder. And remember, we're going to put this R up here on the quotient to say that that we have a remainder. We have something left over. So it's going to be 45 is my quotient with a remainder of 38. And that's it. I'm done. Now, this video is long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. But on the next video, I'm going to start with this right here. I'm going to start showing you another way of dividing without you having to do all the list of multiples that I just showed you. So if you want to know that way, it might be even easier for you. So go watch the next video. All right.